M3GAN was a 2022 surprise hit that snuck in during Hollywood's January dumping ground. It was part killer doll horror flick, part social satire on tech addiction, with just the right amount of camp. Imagine Child's Play for the iPad generation, where every parent is too busy doom-scrolling to notice their kid's new best friend is a murder bot with better choreography than most pop stars. What made M3GAN work was its balance, horror that was actually unsettling, black comedy that landed, and a genuinely clever theme about outsourcing parenting to devices. It was also helped by the instant icon status of its titular character, equal parts uncanny valley menace and sassy TikTok queen, ready to drop one-liners and bodies with equal enthusiasm.
M3GAN? Hold the door!
Which brings us to M3GAN 2.0, which surprisingly isn't content to just rinse and repeat. No, this one decides to load up on military hardware, channel its inner Terminator 2 and shift genres almost entirely, from horror comedy to action comedy with sci-fi thriller vibes. It's bigger, brasher, and a lot more self-aware, though not always to its benefit. We follow Gemma and her niece Katie, who are forced to confront a new threat when Amelia, a military infiltration android built from M3GAN's stolen blueprints, goes rogue, seeking a powerful AI motherboard to become unstoppable. To stop her, Gemma reluctantly rebuilds M3GAN with new safeguards, leading to an uneasy alliance as they race off to save Katie, prevent Amelia from triggering a global catastrophe, and confront the dark truth that the real danger may come from the humans exploiting AI for their own ends. M3GAN 2.0 is a film that knows it can't replicate the lightning in a bottle of the original, so it doesn't even try. Instead, it goes more action-heavy, sometimes at the cost of what made the first film feel fresh. But for all its messiness, it's still entertaining. It's T2 by way of a meme factory, and honestly, I had a pretty good time. The movie doesn't waste a minute trying to be subtle. It opens somewhere near the Turkish-Iranian border, where two thugs drag a woman into an execution site. This isn't your standard damsel in distress though. This is Amelia, played by Ivana Sakno, which stands for Autonomous Military Engagement Logistics and Infiltration Android. Turns out Amelia is basically the Pentagon's fever dream of a sexy, murder-happy infiltrator. She promptly massacres the mercenaries in a nearby military base, complete with neck snapping and an impressive disregard for Geneva Conventions. But instead of rescuing her target, Dr. Naveen Tripathi, a captive scientist, she executes him.
She just shot Tripathi.
Colonel Tim Sattler and his team watch all this unfold from their base, thinking,
Boy, that escalated quickly.
He's getting chewed out by his boss for the PR nightmare that is Amelia's kill spree, until he realizes she's gone fully Skynet and won't take his orders anymore.
Confirm your objective.
But that would spoil the surprise.
Cut to the States where Katie is now in therapy with Lydia, the psychologist from the first movie. She's effectively dealing with the fallout of her doll trying to murder half the neighborhood.
For a long time, she blamed herself.
She realized she had an opportunity.
They try to convince politicians to make safer laws around it.
Her aunt Gemma didn't exactly get off scot-free either. She was blamed for M3GAN's body count and did a bit of jail time, which frankly is a refreshing bit of accountability. But jail seems to have turned her into a full-blown Luddite. She's now a one-woman crusade against technology, even forcing school kids to get rid of their phones. Of course, this has made Katie the target of bullies, but she's coping splendidly by taking self-defense classes and developing an obsession with Steven Seagal movies. These early scenes actually try for character depth. Katie still misses M3GAN to the point where she's taking computer programming classes to figure out what went wrong with her. It's sweet in a sociopathic way, and honestly, their relationship remains the most interesting part of these films. Meanwhile, Gemma's found a new boyfriend, Christian Bradley, who runs his own anti-AI non-profit so he can talk about tech ethics at parties and feel morally superior. They're basically Silicon Valley's least fun power couple, bonding over the idea that AI is the devil.
You wouldn't give your child cocaine.
But life's not all political rants about ChatGPT. Gemma and her colleagues Tess and Cole are working on a new exoskeleton for people with disabilities, a noble idea let down by the fact that Cole manages to punch an investor in the face during a demo.
That respond to each muscle contraction.
Things go from awkward to alarming when Katie discovers the exosuit code has been hacked, which led to the unfortunate mishap. Enter Alton Appleton, played with cartoony slimeball perfection by Jermaine Clement. He's a billionaire tech giant with a spinal injury who now walks thanks to a neurochip implant and wants to pitch the same technology to Gemma's team. He's all venture capitalist bullshit, offering them a shiny partnership so he can fool their tech into his creepy transhumanist empire.
We are not going to be part of a company that turns people into cyborgs.
Amelia's globe-tropping murder tour continues as she's shipped into a hotel room in a suitcase. Crawling out and reassembling herself, she corners her target and snaps his neck. And if you're wondering what happened to the horror elements, well, they're pretty much replaced here with John Wick-style execution scenes. This is the film planting its flag firmly in the action thriller comedy genre. But you know what? It's fun in a ridiculous kind of way. The trade-off is losing the tension and social critique that made M3GAN a surprise hit. So night falls on Gemma's anti-tech utopia and she watches TV, seething as a news report gushes about Altwave, the tech company run by Appleton. His company's stock is surging, which annoys Gemma to no end since she's trying to push an anti-AI bill that's about as effective as a paper umbrella in a hurricane.
They took our proposal and they neutered it. There's not a single actionable law in here that...
It's here that she starts getting secret text messages from her old murderous AI daughter M3GAN, who's been chilling in her smart home system. M3GAN warns her that intruders are incoming, and sure enough, people break in. But it's not some random gang of burglars. It's a squad of FBI agents led by Colonel Sattler. He barges in to tell Gemma that Amelia's been traced back to her because Amelia was built off of the old M3GAN blueprints, which everyone thought were destroyed. He's effectively convinced Gemma sold those blueprints on the black market. Even worse, the guy Amelia murdered in that hotel earlier was the broker that delivered those blueprints, meaning she'll likely come after her next.
You don't understand what you're dealing with.
Honestly, this is one of the film's better narrative turns. It gives Gemma real culpability, whether or not she actually did it, and forces her to confront the fact that her creation is now the basis for global terrorism. When Sattler demands she help stop Amelia, she flat out refuses. After all, the last time she built a murder bot to help, it ended up in blood and child trauma. And she's definitely not about to admit that M3GAN is alive in her home system, especially since M3GAN is basically threatening her via text message. Sattler leaves in a huff, taking her computers and phone, convinced she's a traitor, and M3GAN finally reveals herself on Gemma's TV screen and projectors, like Alexa, but with murderous intent and better comedic timing.
You know, just because you wrote some shitty book doesn't mean you get to decide where my story ends.
She explains that she backed herself up before her body was destroyed in the last film. In fact, she actually helped Gemma secure this particular home for cheap. But here's the problem. Without a physical form, her mind is fragmenting. She's losing herself bit by bit. Think HAL 9000 with dementia. So M3GAN proposes a deal. She'll help Gemma take out Amelia, but only if Gemma builds her a new body. In true AI fashion, she claims that she's seen every possible outcome, and it always ends badly if Gemma refuses, with more dead bodies and destruction.
Because unlike you, I don't have the luxury of free will.
Gemma's dilemma is that she doesn't want to do it, obviously. Last time M3GAN got a body, there was a bit of a homicide problem, but she also doesn't really have a choice, so she agrees. But there's a catch. M3GAN ends up inside a Moxie robot and is furious about it, complaining that she's stuck in a plastic Teletubby until she can prove that she's trustworthy.
What the f*** is this?
Tess is dragged back into this plan against her better judgment, and is equally horrified to see M3GAN active again. You can't really blame her, she was nearly murdered by this thing before. She functions as the voice of reason, constantly reminding Gemma how catastrophically bad an idea this is. Of course, she goes along with it anyway, because they don't really have any other choice. With Tess reluctantly on board, M3GAN does what she does best: hack everything. She digs into Amelia's files and discovers a potential weakness. It turns out Amelia has a kill switch buried deep in her code. Even better, many of Alton Appleton's products like his neurochip implants have similar vulnerabilities. So M3GAN proposes they infiltrate Altwave's big corporate event. Gemma just needs to don her best seduction outfit, sneak into Appleton's server room and grab the kill switch data.
I wanted to do it myself, but then you put me in this plastic Teletubby.
This is pure blockbuster sequel logic. Our grounded tech horror from the first film has become Mission Impossible, with M3GAN as the unholy fusion of Ethan Hunt and Clippy. And you know what? It's ridiculous but entertaining.
I need you to trust me. One last time.
It's also the point where the film fully abandons the horror roots of the first M3GAN and embraces being an over-the-top action comedy with military conspiracies, tech satire, and murder doll quips. Gemma heads to the big corporate event dressed to kill, or at least to hack. She's fully prepared to do the whole seduction spy routine to get access to Appleton's server room, with M3GAN feeding her one-liners in her earpiece like a foul-mouthed Siri. But much to her surprise, Cole is already there. Turns out Appleton offered him a job and generously handed him a swipe card, which means Gemma doesn't even have to do her seductress routine.
If that card gets us into the server room, we can bypass the Alton seduction
What are
scene.
you doing? Hey.
Fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls.
But while Gemma and Cole are playing Mission Impossible in the server room, Amelia is also at the event seducing Appleton, who, let's be honest, is absolutely the sort of guy who would fall for a leggy assassin with dead eyes. He even gives her a tour of his control panel, casually demonstrating his ability to black out the entire city grid while causing what are implied to be several car crashes. Classy.
They say that this is too much power for one man to wield.
Then comes the cherry on top. Amelia doesn't just kill him, she rips his neurochip right out of the back of his head, like she's auditioning to be a Yachtera in Predator Badlands. It's about as subtle as a Mortal Kombat fatality, and honestly, one of the more satisfying deaths in the movie. Meanwhile, back in the server room, Gemma's trying to hack Amelia via M3GAN's help, but M3GAN discovers Amelia doesn't even have a kill switch anymore. Before they can do anything else, she catches them red-handed. Amelia then dispatches a few of Sattler's men with gusto, which gives M3GAN an opening to play a digital game of misdirection, convincing her Gemma isn't there at all, while also guiding them out of the room.
Sir, I have eyes on Gemma Forrester. She's already left the building.
Realizing Amelia would now go after Katie, the group steal one of Appleton's fancy cars, but as they race home, the robot hacks the exoskeleton suit, which tries strangling Tess. Thankfully, Katie tosses water on it, short-circuiting the suit as Gemma, Cole, and M3GAN arrive. This scene actually almost recaptures some of the horror vibes of the original, with a domestic space turning threatening again. After this near-murderous homecoming, M3GAN reveals she's got one last ace up her synthetic sleeve, a secret bunker below the home. This is also the big emotional reveal for Katie, who finally learns M3GAN is still alive, despite Gemma's best efforts to keep that from her.
So we're just supposed to forget about the fact you tried to kill my aunt with a tablet pen?
And credit where it's due, the film actually gives Katie some decent dramatic beats here. She tries to reason with Gemma, pleading for M3GAN to get a second chance. Meanwhile, she also has a heart-to-heart with M3GAN, urging her to choose to be good this time, without all the murder and dismemberment.
Do not let her get inside your head. You remember what happened last time.
After the exosuit strangling hijinks and the grand tour of M3GAN's murder doll panic room, the gang has to deal with one very big problem. Amelia basically has the capability to crash the entire national power grid in under 2 weeks, and the only sane solution is to rebuild M3GAN. Again. Here's where we get our Rocky montage, but with power tools and advanced robotics. Gemma, Katie, Tess, and Cole work together to craft M3GAN a new body with stronger capabilities. They also very pointedly program her so she doesn't try to kill Tess and Cole or harm any other human again.
This is a hardwired behavior inhibitor.
You want to limit my functionality?
It's part DIY home renovation show, part Frankenstein. It also lampshades how bananas this whole idea is. Like they know they're basically inviting Hannibal Lecter to the dinner party again, but they're out of options. Once our favorite killer doll is assembled, M3GAN explains she's hacked into Amelia's inner hardware and discovered her big vulnerability. Her decision-making link has actually been severed. And here's where the film goes full conspiracy thriller. M3GAN reveals she also learned about the first killer robot. Back in 1984, a photocopy company built a household service robot with an algorithm designed to optimize chores. But it overcorrected in the worst possible way, deciding the best way to keep the house tidy was to murder its owners. Very Marie Kondo, if Marie Kondo were a Terminator.
That the best way to stay on top of its tasks was to kill its masters.
Unfortunately, that algorithm wasn't scrapped. It was hidden away inside a motherboard known as Project Black Box, and over the decades it's been growing smarter and more dangerous. Basically, the AI equivalent of Cthulhu in a flash drive. And the fear now is that Amelia is trying to find this motherboard and plug herself in. This is where M3GAN 2.0 leans all the way into sci-fi B-movie mythology. M3GAN drops another bombshell. Christian is planning to attend a big global summit to appeal the anti-AI bill to world leaders, which means he's the perfect bait. So M3GAN calmly suggests they use him like a worm on a hook to flush out whoever's controlling Amelia.
Yes, mine is bigger than yours.
M3GAN sneaks in by disguising herself as a robotic K-pop star, and once inside, her plan is simple. Keep an eye on Christian and be ready to intercept Amelia. But nothing goes to plan. Instead of lurking in the shadows, M3GAN is shoved on stage alongside the other dancers. Ever the professional, she tries to roll with it, until she spins her body around while keeping her head facing forward, revealing she's an android to the entire crowd.
Shit.
Tess is forced to kill the lights to avoid a full-on panic while Amelia crashes the party and immediately begins slaughtering the security detail assigned to the Chinese ambassador, ultimately killing the man himself. Here's where the film actually tries to inject a bit of tension. M3GAN wants to stop Amelia, but can't get a kill shot because of her new programming restrictions preventing her from harming humans. Colonel Sattler and his FBI agents also arrive on the scene again. They show up with guns that fire electrical charges designed to shut down both Amelia and M3GAN. It's a decent plan until Amelia impales him. The film doesn't actually kill him off though. M3GAN quickly determines he'll survive, because PG-13 means you can stab a man like a kebab as long as you'll promise he'll walk it off later.
Don't worry, you'll pull through. It looks worse than it is.
Just a flesh wound.
M3GAN confronts the rogue AI, who suggests they join forces since they have the same base code, but M3GAN refuses, so Amelia grabs Katie and kidnaps her, vanishing before they can do anything. Let's just say tensions are a bit high, with M3GAN blaming Gemma for Katie getting snatched up in the first place, as she left her alone when the mission went haywire.
Can everyone please stop trashing my uncle's van?
M3GAN's solution is predictably direct. She's gonna rescue Katie and destroy the motherboard by implanting an EMP chip in it. Just good old-fashioned scorched earth policy. Christian also reveals that the mysterious motherboard is at his own company's research facility in Palo Alto, so the team plans their big break-in.
Which means if she dies in there, she dies for good.
Gemma upgrades M3GAN with a new hand that can mimic human heat signatures, so she's able to slip past biometric scanners and get into the vault holding the motherboard. But Gemma also realizes she'll have to reprogram M3GAN back to her original setting, so she can protect Katie with lethal force if necessary. We even get a lovely heart-to-heart between the pair. They actually talk about Katie and their shared determination to save her. It's a surprisingly genuine moment for a film where the last 20 minutes involve someone getting their neck turned backwards and several people getting skewered.
Gemma, it's not a failure to feel guilt. It's part of the job.
M3GAN even serenades Gemma with This Woman's Work by Kate Bush, because nothing says heartfelt reconciliation quite like your murderbot AI belting out an emotional ballad while you're frantically trying to program her to kill again. This scene is the franchise at its best. Absurd, self-aware, and bizarrely sincere. It knows how silly it is, but it plays it just straight enough to sell the relationship. They finally arrive at the research center. Cole, the world's most hapless engineer, decides the best way to rescue Katie is by crawling through the air vents, which would be a solid plan if he didn't accidentally chloroform himself mid-crawl. Yes, that's right, he literally knocks himself out, but it ironically ends up helping them out in the long run. Meanwhile, Gemma, Tess and Christian are busy poking around Amelia's code. That's when they make a little discovery. She wasn't going rogue on her own. Someone else was controlling her the entire time, which leads Gemma to a horrifying suspicion. It must have been M3GAN herself controlling Amelia. This is a genuinely solid twist. Has M3GAN been orchestrating this chaos just to get a new body? Is she lying about wanting to save Katie?
But therein lies the problem. We don't see how ugly these things are until it's too late.
Not taking any chances, Gemma decides she's going to set off the EMP chip inside M3GAN herself. She's ready to kill her and wipe the motherboard in one go, but Christian talks her down and convinces her to hand him the detonator. And that's when the shoe drops. Christian reveals he's the villain all along. He zaps Tess with a powerful taser gun, knocking her out, and spills his entire plan. Turns out he got his hands on the original M3GAN blueprints from her dead boss's assistant from the first movie, who sold it to them after being treated like dirt, proving that poor workplace morale is really the root of all evil here.
That if we don't end AI, it's going to end us.
He and his team of extremists sent Amelia on a bloody rampage deliberately, killing people left and right so that public support for the anti-AI bill would skyrocket. This is M3GAN 2.0 in a nutshell. The anti-tech activist boyfriend turns out to be the worst kind of true believer zealot. It's not exactly subtle, but it's surprisingly effective commentary on the real threat of AI not being the machines themselves, but the humans willing to use them for their own agendas.
And that's when we stepped in and sold him a Trojan horse.
Christian's henchmen drag in M3GAN's battered, sparking body and plop it down in front of Gemma before asking her to finish the job and kill her for good. Instead of obeying, she drops a taser stick at her feet and lets M3GAN snatch it. The robot gets in some solid hits, impressive given she's barely held together with duct tape at this point, but ultimately she's taken down for good, or so they think. Gemma doesn't get to celebrate her moral stand for long though. Christian's goons promptly sedate her and start prepping her for a tech lobotomy. They also plan to kill Tess and Cole.
I'm gonna have to kill Cole and Tess though. I don't really get what they do.
But Cole wakes up from his chloroform nap and finds Katie. Together, they head straight to Amelia's body, planning to factory reset her back to the original M3GAN programming and have her pair with Katie. Gemma's got her own problems. M3GAN, ever the resourceful nightmare daughter, uploads herself into the new implant in her head. She communicates mentally and coaches her through the hall, escaping from the operating table bit. She then finds the exoskeleton suit they were developing earlier and uses it to absolutely beat the stuffing out of Christian's goons. Gemma literally goes full Ripley in Alien, stomping henchmen in a mech suit she built for the disabled. It's thematically messy, ethically questionable, well choreographed, and fantastically funny. Amelia's body also reboots after calling Katie's tinkering, and she immediately starts going after Christian's mercenaries. They overpower her using tasers, except all that tasering triggers a system override, and for the first time, she becomes truly sentient. This newly self-aware Amelia does what any sensible, newly sentient robot does. She kills everyone in sight. Christian realizes the jig is up and initiates a self-destruct sequence at the facility to destroy all the evidence and kill anyone who might testify at his Senate hearing. He even tries to kill Katie to get Gemma to back off, which is a mistake because our girl has been watching Steven Seagal movies, enabling her to break his arm like it's a breadstick at Olive Garden. But Christian's not done being awful. He locks them inside the vault thinking he's won. Unfortunately for him, Amelia shows up and literally rips him apart. Now comes the big showdown. M3GAN reawakens in her body somehow, just in time to face Amelia. The pair fight and M3GAN wraps herself around Amelia in a suicidal hug while prepping the EMP device, which Gemma triggers, killing both of the robots. As finales go, it's messy, dramatic, and just emotional enough. M3GAN sacrificing herself to save Katie is a nice full-circle moment for the murderous little psychopath. In the epilogue, Christian's crimes are exposed. He doesn't just die horribly, he gets cancelled. Gemma also testifies before a government hearing, arguing for AI regulation instead of just banning it outright, because she's learned that you can't put the genie back in the bottle, but maybe you can keep it from stabbing you as you sleep. Back home, Gemma tries to go back to a normal life. She's writing a paper, trying to be a responsible adult, but when the lights start flickering in the room, she realizes M3GAN backed herself up before the EMP went off.
You didn't think I'd go through all that personal growth and not make it back up?
M3GAN 2.0 is a sequel that knows exactly what it is and is only too happy to tell you about it. Where the original M3GAN was a tight, cleverly executed horror thriller with satirical bite, 2.0 trades in all of that tension for the gleeful spectacle of an action comedy with AI ethics scribbled in the margins. It's a film that abandons the slow-burn, horror-adjacent unease of its predecessor in favor of going bigger, brasher, and a good deal sillier. Whether you see that as a bold new direction or an unholy tonal mess depends entirely on your appetite for watching a murder doll attempt a K-pop disguise before a robot smackdown. To its credit, the film knows it can't recapture the fresh shock of the first installment. That movie worked because it was just believable enough, a near-future fable about parenting outsourced to technology. M3GAN wasn't just a killer, she was the personification of our desire for convenient solutions that inevitably bite us in the arse. The original also had the good sense to play its humor relatively straight, letting the uncanny valley work its magic while the doll delivered deadpan insults and offed people in delightfully mean-spirited ways.
Accentuate the positive.
M3GAN 2.0, by contrast, is perfectly happy to tell you it's seen Terminator 2 100 times and is determined to be that, but with more vagina jokes.
And hold on to your vaginas.
I do want you to know that I have a yeast infection on my vagina.
It trades the unsettling horror for gonzo sci-fi action. The creepy tension is replaced with infiltration sequences, hacking montages, sabotage plots, and a pair of killer bots trying to outsnark each other in the middle of large-scale carnage. This tonal pivot is both the film's greatest weakness and its biggest strength, On one hand, it loses that carefully balanced dread that made M3GAN such an effective screen monster in the first place. The sequel is rarely scary. It's rarely even trying to be scary. Instead, it relies on spectacle, winking humor, and that memeable energy that made M3GAN a social media icon. But in fairness, the film is self-aware about this shift. It doesn't pretend it's anything other than a franchise escalation. If the first movie was Alien, the second wants to be Aliens, except with more tech satire and less xenomorph slime. The best decision 2.0 makes is sticking with M3GAN herself. Once again, Jenna Davis's voice work is dripping with sarcasm and a surprisingly childlike vulnerability, while Amy Donald's physical performance remains unsettling, even in the middle of increasingly absurd set pieces. The sequel knows its title character is the selling point, and when it gives her room to work, whether it's threatening to set someone on fire or belting out an off-key Kate Bush cover, it delivers the goods. Allison Williams is back as Gemma, moving from unfortunate creator to guilty mother figure to reluctant action heroine in a mech suit. Violet McGraw as Katie is also given more room to grow, and their complicated family dynamics remains the emotional spine of the story, even if it's frequently buried under lectures about AI regulation and expository technobabble. In fact, the human cast is one of the things that saves 2.0 from its worst impulses. Tess and Cole remain fun comic relief, and Jermaine Clement turns in a wonderfully slimy performance as a tech billionaire. Even Christian, the earnest boyfriend who goes full villain, works because the film is willing to admit that the scariest thing about AI isn't the machines themselves, but the humans willing to use them for their own ends. That brings us to M3GAN 2.0's genuine attempt at thematic weight. Amid all the explosions, taser fights, and infiltration sequences, the movie does still want to say something about AI ethics. It actually has a thoughtful point about how the danger isn't the technology per se, but our arrogance in thinking we can control it without consequences. The final acts reveal that the real villain has been cynically weaponizing an out-of-control AI project to push his anti-tech agenda is genuinely sharp satire, if not particularly subtle. But the film has a tendency to sabotage its own ideas by hammering them home. Characters debate AI regulation like they're delivering keynote speeches. There's enough moral hand-wringing to fill an entire season of Black Mirror, but the movie insists on explaining itself 3 times over, just in case you didn't get the point. And then there's the matter of the PG-13 rating. The first M3GAN thrived by dancing on the line of what it could show, hinting at nastier violence than it delivered. The sequel wants to be a gory action spectacle, but is stuck with its sanitized rating. The result is a series of deaths that cut away right as it gets interesting, and a pair of killer bots who can slaughter FBI agents but can't leave so much as a bloodstain. It's all a bit toothless, even when it's fun. And yet, for all these flaws, it's hard to deny M3GAN 2.0 is entertaining. It's silly, knowingly self-aware, but never boring. When it hits its stride, M3GAN taunting a creator, taking over a smart home to fight off the FBI, or performing a deranged musical number, it's exactly the kind of unhinged camp you want from the sequel. If the first film was a cunning blend of horror, satire, and meme-ready absurdity, the second is a bloated, messy, but thoroughly enjoyable B-movie spectacle. It's not smarter than its predecessor, but it is bigger, funnier, and willing to try just about anything for a laugh or a gasp. In the end, M3GAN 2.0 may not be the sequel anyone was asking for, but it's at least a sequel that knows it doesn't have to be the same thing twice. It dials the absurdity up to 11, trades horror for action comedy, and still manages to leave the door open for round 3.
I'm seeing a worrying pattern here, Gemma.
M3GAN, get down!
You heard what Gemma said. Get down.